What is going on YouTube? My name is Pedro and welcome back to the channel where we never turn off the console. Finally, I could put my hands on God of War. This is a franchise that is very dear to me because I'm a huge fan of the first games. I love the epic boss battles, the chaotic fights with tons of enemies. The stories were interesting based on a quest for revenge, and although it was squeezed until the last drop, I never felt that it was too much. I understand the shift in direction, trying to give Kratos a more caring feeling instead of the bloodthirst anti-hero that we had before, and I have to say that I quite enjoy this new face that was presented to us in this new game. But for a number of reasons that I'm going to point out on this video, I felt like I was a little bit robbed of the true God of War experience. Don't get me wrong, I really like this game. I still think that it's a must-own on the PS4, but in my opinion it's still miles away from the best game of the franchise and one of the best games of all time, like the media sources claim it to be. Remember that this is only my point of view and you can have your own opinion about God of War. And if you think that this is a masterpiece, who am I to say that you are wrong? But let me try to explain why I feel this way about this game. But before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload that I do to YouTube, drop a like on the video if you enjoy the content, and comment down below your thoughts about God of War. And without further ado, let's get into it. So for the ones that doesn't know the story behind these games, let me give you a little bit of context. Kratos is a god, son of the mighty Zeus, born in Sparta. There in the previous titles had the mission to eliminate all the gods after the torment that he was exposed during his whole life. When Kratos was a young boy, Zeus discovered a prophecy that said that one day he would be defeated by one of his own children. So to prevent that, he sent Athena and Ares, two of his own children, to eliminate such a threat. Athena and Ares thought that Kratos' brother Deimos was the one that the prophecy was talking about, so they took him away and sent him to Thanatos, the god of death. Once Kratos grew older, he got married, had a daughter, and raised all the way to the top of the Sparta army. During this time, Kratos was a merciless warrior, going from one battle to another until the time of his defeat came against the barbarians. With death in front of him, he asked Ares to defeat his enemies, and in exchange he offers his life to serve the god of war. Ares attends to Kratos' wishes, and to remind him of his oath, binds Kratos to the Blades of Chaos. Yes, those badass blades that Kratos uses all throughout the franchise. So, as a subject of the God of War, Kratos went through all the country viciously killing soldiers and innocent people without any type of resentment. The only thing that still tied him to some kind of humanity was his wife and daughter. So Ares, trying to create the perfect murderer machine, tricks Kratos into killing his own family. After this, Kratos broke his oath to Ares and swore to get revenge for the loss of his family. And this was how Kratos' killing spree of gods began, culminating in an epic battle against his own father Zeus. After Kratos has overcome all the Titans and Olympian gods, he moved to the Nordic lands, where he started a new life, getting married again and having another child, trying to put behind his horrible past. So this is the point where this entry of the franchise picks up. The game starts with a really sad tone, with Kratos' wife, Faye, passing away. Kratos and his son Atreus, mostly known as the boy, perform a very sentimental funeral ceremony for her and embark on a journey to spread her ashes on the highest peak of the realm. Wait, what was that? Was that a smile, Kratos? You are gathering the ashes of your wife, you sick bastard! And here is where it begins the development of an emotional father and son story that is presented to us in God of War. So since we are at it, let me give you my impressions on the story and the characters. To start things off, I would like to say that the story of this game is great. I love the development of Kratos and Atreus' relationship. It starts harsh, with Kratos not being the most pleasant father of all time, but trying in his own way to transmit valuable lessons to his son. It is really moving to see their bond grow throughout the whole game, and watch them go through different phases that are so common in relationships between father and son. A moment in the game where the type of relationship that they have is perfectly reflected is when Atreus drops the knife that he kept from his mother after the funeral. Kratos finds it, and once he finds the boy in trouble to pick up a certain plant, he uses that specific moment to teach Atreus a lesson about taking care of his own stuff. A situation that even with the lack of good communication between the two of them, Atreus understands the message perfectly. You can see that Kratos is not the most caring and loving person, but you feel the good intentions in him and that he tries to do the best to craft Atreus to be the better version of himself. Another thing that I enjoy about the story is the shift from the Greek mythology to the Nordic mythology, with names like Odin and Thor coming into scene, and during your playthrough you will have multiple encounters with Thor's sons, Magni and Modi, as well with the main antagonist of this game, Baldur, son of Odin and Thor's half-brother. Magni and Modi are not that interesting, there's no deep character development for those two, but you have the pleasure to beat the crap out of them, with Atreus even giving the final blow to one of them. But it is a totally different story with Baldur. This one is the real deal, with the great backstory to go along with this sadistic bastard. He is invulnerable to any type of threat after his mother Freya has cast a spell on him to prevent his death. The battles that you have with Baldur are amazing true bloodbaths that perfectly display what God of War is all about, and you will have the most satisfying neckcracker of all time once you defeat this cocky idiot. Another great character is Mimir, the wise head that will travel with you throughout a big chunk of the journey, helping Kratos and Atreus decipher ancient languages and solving puzzles. He is funny as hell, I loved hearing his tales while I was on the boat going from one place to another, and for that he is my favorite character of the whole game. But there were more interesting characters, like the dwarf brothers Brook and Sindri. They are the ones that upgrade your weapons, and what one does, the other needs to do even better. A kind of love-hate relationship that works pretty well and adds humor to the narrative. The next positive point that I'm going to talk about are the astonishing graphics. All the realms that you go through along your journey are beautiful, with his own environments and being super different from one another. The enemies' design are great and the visual effects during battle are extremely well done, especially when Kratos goes in for the kill and he just rips them apart. It is like a mini cutscene, really graphic and gore, and the most badass thing in the game. From smashing enemies' heads with his foot to smashing ogres' jaws, Kratos does it all. The soundtrack is extraordinary. It really creates the intended atmosphere. The music is haunting and epic, and it sticks to your head, putting you in that murdery mindset that you need to conquer all the challenges that are thrown at you. Another point that helps you feeling like a true god. In terms of gameplay, I like the fact that now you need to have much more strategic approach to combat. The combo heavy base style and smashing buttons from previous titles is no longer a thing, and that is a change that I quite enjoy. Now the combat feels much more immersive, you need to be aware of what your enemies are doing at all times, especially because there are some of them that if they hit you like 2 times, you are gone. So to avoid being smashed by your enemies, you need to master the dodge and parry mechanics so you can surpass them. And I have to say that those mechanics are, alongside the finishers, the most satisfying thing to pull off. And we need to talk about how useful Atreus is during battle. He uses a bow and arrow and he can stun enemies, so you can take advantage of that. From time to time he even jumps on their back, strangulating them with his bow so you can have free hits. He is an amazing help throughout the whole game. And this is without a doubt the God of War game with the biggest map to explore. In the previous games you had an extremely narrow path, but in this one, although it is not an open world game, you have much more to do. You have treasures to find, side quests to do, and boss battles that are truly satisfying to face. There is a lot besides the main story for you to enjoy. So I had a lot of positive things to say about this game, and it is a great game. I had a wonderful time with it, but now I need to point out the things that made me question all the praise that this game had and still has. The first of them, and the one that is my biggest disappointment, is the recycled boss battles. During the game you will fight so many times the same ogre with the simple reskin and elemental change that I think it is an insult to the fans of the series. Never in other God of War game I felt this type of recycled bosses. Sure, you would fight the same enemy in certain situations, but that didn't happen when it came to the boss battles. And another thing, basically in the same terms, is the lack of variety and imagination in terms of common enemies. For such a recent game, I feel like there should be a bigger variety of types of enemies, because once again you have a lot of reskinned models, you have the fire and the ice types, but that for me is not a new enemy. It is just a change of color and element. It feels sloppy to say the least. The lack of epic battles is a problem that is really noticeable for someone that has played all the previous games of the franchise. Where are the fights with gigantic creatures? Yes, you talk to a giant serpent and roam around a dead giant, but never fight something of that magnitude, and that was a constant in previous titles. And I miss a little bit more chaos in battles. There are so few moments where I felt overwhelmed with enemies, and I understand that with the new mechanics there cannot be the same level of chaos, but they should pump it up a little bit more in next games. Another badly done point is the climbing. Okay, it is adorable to see the way that Atreus jumps on the back of Kratos, but the mechanic is just flawed. It is tedious to go through those sections, you are limited to the directional buttons, only being able to jump in specific spots. It is a low quality imitation of the Uncharted, and it is something that definitely needs improvement in the sequel. The upgrade system is another point that needs to be perfected in the new installments. I don't mind the addition of RPG elements, but I didn't like it that much. It is an okay system, but if you want to insert something like this in the game, please make it more customizable. It lacks in terms of options, it is too limited in my perspective. Although I enjoyed the most part of the changes that were made to the combat system, it isn't perfect. First of all, the camera is too close to Kratos. From time to time, it gets annoying the fact that you can see so little of what is in front of you. Kratos' model takes too much space on the screen, and the lock-on option, I don't know if it was only me, but I don't feel like it works that well when you want to switch to another target. And to finish the negative points, please let Kratos sprint in all directions. It is so stupid that he only sprints to his front, and this can become really annoying when in battle. So please let the man sprint anywhere he wants. I know that probably this has been the game to which I was the most harsh on, but I'm such a big fan of this franchise that after I saw all the praise that it had, I cannot feel any other way. I was expecting much more from it. In my opinion, it is far from being the masterpiece that almost everyone says it is. Damn, I don't even think that this is the best God of War game. In my opinion, that title still goes to God of War 3. That, my friends, is a 10 out of 10. But nevertheless, this new reimagination of God of War is promising. It is a good game, a different direction and approach that I enjoyed, but with a lot to be improved. I hope that the dev team doesn't relax because of the mind-blowing critics that the game got, and that they can be critical of themselves and see the flaws in this game so they can deliver a much better sequel. So after all things considered, a lot of joy but also a lot of frustrations, and believe me when I say that it kills me a little bit inside to say this, because really I thought that this was going to be the game to which I would give my first 10 on the channel, but unfortunately I have to give God of War my rating of 8 out of 10. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoy my point of view in God of War. Let me know in the comments if you are on the same page as I am, or do you think that this game is a masterpiece. I love you all very much, and I will see you on the next one.